Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Adele Taylor with the New Jersey Garden State Film Festival. And today I am here with Debra Markowitz and John Marine, the executive producer and DP of The Only Woman in the World. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Can you go ahead and just give us a little quick introduction to yourselves and then maybe a little bit about the film, and we'll go ahead and then get started with some great questions.
Okay, great. Well, I am the writer and director and one of the producers on The Only Woman in the World, which basically is the story about an up-and-coming female director who is in a long-term relationship, and as her career starts to move up, she gets involved with an actor who may not have the best of intentions, and that's for the audience to figure out. There seems to be a really going theme with narcissism these days in relationships, and I wanted to bring some attention to that. And basically, we got it in the can for a ridiculous amount of money, but I wanted to make a feature film, and we didn't have the money, and I said, well, how are we going to do it? And John said, well, let's train the crew. We'll train the crew. So we actually trained our sound people. Well, John trained them, I should say. Over 6 months, going by everybody's schedules, because we didn't really have any money, and so we had to go by their schedules. We got the film in the can. So John, you want to talk a little bit about what you did?
We developed this story in a very odd fashion. It all started out in Montauk at a restaurant, where we talked about 2 different people just sitting in a restaurant being really bored, and all kinds of bizarre things happen outside the window, but they never see it because they're bored. That morphed into something else, and then became something else in a different conversation. It went through a whole bunch of different permutations. I know that. I'm getting there. And then we started having a conversation about narcissism and being wrapped up in yourselves. We made a completely different film, which no one will ever see.
Why not?
It was terrible. It just didn't work. It was a short film. The problem was, by the time we finished filming the whole thing, got through the whole part, you couldn't tell who the narcissist was.
Oh.
The way the whole thing fell together, it was just like, we don't know who the bad guy is. So then we decided to rewrite the whole thing, turn it into a feature. So we kind of used that as our idea for a proof of concept. And then we wrote this, or Debbie, I should say, wrote this entire film. We knew various people who were more actor types, but actors usually always have some other side issue, something else they do. So we got I trained this one person to be a sound man. He had never done it before.
Wow.
I walked through the entire process with him. He actually became very good. He now does it on other people's films. Brought in other people to do craft who had really never done it, people to do scripty who had never done it. All the positions we filled with people who actually never did it before.
Except for makeup.
Except for makeup. We couldn't let makeup do anything.
So much. We did bring in a number of semi or professional first ADs. No, not first ADs, first AC, to do pull focus and stuff like that, because that's real hard to do right at the first day. But we trained everybody for every position, and now they all work in the industry doing those things, or they're starting to make their own films. I actually teach filmmaking at Five Towns College and in other places and things like that. So I'm set up to train people to do this. And so now they're all happy, and they help us with other projects.
That's amazing. I mean, I've got to say, normally when I hear about a filmmaker and they talk about how their process was, you almost never hear that they've taken the time while actually trying to create a film to give back and give necessary skills to their crew. So first of all, kudos to you guys for doing that. But can you just talk just a little bit more about why you went in that direction that point, instead of just bringing in people who kind of maybe already knew what to do in training? Money is the root of everything.
I think it was, of course, altruism, wanting to work with people. Well, they were all working for us for next to nothing, if not nothing. That's why we had to go by their schedules. That's why we actually had probably 3 or 4 different makeup people, because if we're paying you X amount and you can get twice as much somewhere else, then you're going to take that job. So we call in somebody else, you know, who's just wants to hang, you know, they're friends, and they know that we would help them out with their own projects. It really came down to, we had no money, but I was determined it was time for me to make a feature film after making dozens of shorts and working on other people's features. And just what I usually do is look at John and go, okay, how can we do this? And really, it was the only way we could. So we call people who has time, wants to learn this, who has time, wants to learn that. You know, and basically train them along the way. It was a tremendous amount of work. We did all the pre-production ourselves, including trying to train people while you're working. The one thing that we did have were very experienced actors. So that just made life so much easier. We had a Karen Sheehan, who was one of Broadway's Phantom of the Operas, is our lead. He plays Jay Spencer, and Bianca Jamat LaRue plays Sandy, the other lead, and then Chris Cardona, who I cast in some other movies, plays kind of, that's the triangle there. And all very professional. They of course knew their lines. Of course they know how to act. So it was really much easier, you know, to work with them while we had all this other kind of training going on. So, and then there's 5 million extra roles and other actors that came into it. And yeah, it was, I mean, we had to cut out so much at the end, because when you're filming this over 6 months, I would just continually keep writing. I'm like, oh, I got a better idea. And I just keep adding things. And at the end, the first pass, we had like a 2.5-hour movie. I'm like, oh no, we can't have a 2.5-hour movie. What do we want this to be? And so we would have to cut out full scenes and
total characters.
Yeah, total
people
characters.
Who were in there were just gone.
Yeah. It's just kind of hard, but yeah, people seem to like it who've seen it so far. But it's been a journey.
To say the least. I can definitely tell that it's been a journey. So besides this amazing and very in-depth process, what is something that you want people when they're watching this film to either be excited about or leave with the knowledge of knowing?
Oh, that's a really good question. What I would have liked to bring out more, but it would have had to be a 10-hour movie, would be all the ways that narcissists can get into your life. You know, they're being they're love bombing you, whether it's a friend or relationship, and or somebody who wants to work for you, or you know, when you're helping them. And so I had a lot of that in there, and we kind of had to take it out and know that the people who've been affected by this will hopefully see the kind of behavior, you know, that happens, and whether or not it affects them. And I mean, the big challenge for a narcissist, and I won't say which one, although I'm sure that people will figure it out quickly, is the fact that it had to be a character that everybody would love and think was charming and adorable and smart, and he's wonderful and best friend. But I had to find out a way to make it very clear when things change. So they wouldn't say, all right, it's just a flirty jerk kind of thing. It would be more like, oh, and so that, you know, so I'm hopefully that this will, some people will understand maybe if they're in that kind of relationship, what it is. And then I think from a business point, it's, if you want to do something, you got to find a way to do it. And you know, it's often finding teams of people who maybe this is their main project, maybe this isn't the one they're going to make money on, but they're going to learn. I know some people say never work for free, and I've always said absolutely work for free until you know what you're doing.
Right.
If we're going to pay somebody, or anybody's going to pay somebody, they're going to want to pay somebody who knows what they're doing. You know? So it's you have to give value back, you know, and so there's a way to do that. And whenever these people need us, we're there. You know, what do you need help? I mean, I don't generally cast movies for free, but if it's somebody who's helped me, I'm right there. You know, and so I've done that a lot for people in exchange, and there's a reciprocity to getting things done. Always treat your people with respect, you know. So we always try and do that on our sets. And
we feed them well.
We do feed them very well.
Food goes a long way, can I just say?
Don't get pizza very much on our set.
Yeah. You get to, here's the menu, pick what you want, you know.
Wow. I will volunteer next time with that set food. I'm there. Let me know. I can move a light or something. I can learn.
Well, anybody can if they're willing to try.
Right.
You know, it would be we have to take into account what these people's capabilities are and their interest level. Some people just aren't built for being crew. It just doesn't, it's not part of their mindset. Other people will take it in and they'll, if they're real filmmakers, they will tend to look at it as though this is part of the process. Mm-hmm. I need to know what's going on in every part of the set so that I can relate to everybody else and be useful.
Oh, and I really want to give a shout out to our post-production supervisor, Rob Riley, because when we gave him all of this, he had no idea how long this movie was going to be. And professional editor. And when he finally sat down to look at it, he's like, Debbie, you know how much stuff is here? But he just went through everything, fixed all the problems that we might have had, like editors tend to do. He oversaw everything else. I thought he would have a nervous breakdown by the time we finished. But he was just really awesome with figuring out what worked best with everything, you know.
He thought the 2.5 hour cut was great.
Oh yeah, it's like, no, Rob. Because yeah, but it's really good. I said, yeah, but I can't have a 2.5 hour movie.
But when Tarantino does it, it's like, you know.
Not Tarantino, but yeah. So don't skimp on post. You know, if you can do it yourself, that's awesome. But that's the one thing that I will never be interested in doing is, first of all, shooting. Because everything would be like this, and second of all is editing, because I just don't have the patience. What I generally the first pass, and then I'll go in and say, okay, great, no, change this, move this, and but to sit there and go through all that footage, I would just totally lose my mind. So don't skimp on that. He found some songs for us. We brought in a post sound person who was great, and he also did the coloring. So you know, there were a lot of work, so much work at the end. This literally took us 3 years, and
wow.
And the reason being, we shot it within probably a month after me writing it, which is insane. First of all, you probably shouldn't do that. There's that saying that you can only do things 2 of 3 ways. You can do it fast, you can do it cheap, or you can do it good. 2 of those. So we did it hopefully cheap, good, you know, but it certainly wasn't fast. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think you definitely did it cheap and good. I have seen it myself, and definitely kudos to you guys for that. I have one last question for you. I mean, you've given so much advice. Thank you so much. I'm sure anyone who's watching will either be inspired to now be a filmmaker, or hopefully we have some young filmmakers that are watching this and are really excited about all the advice that you've given and really talking about the process and the determination to make this movie. But I want to know, what made you enter the Garden State Film Festival, and what does it mean to have this film in particular, one you worked so hard on, clearly be accepted?
Well, the funny thing is, we weren't going to enter this in any film festivals. We figured it's kind of long, but for streaming service, it's not a problem. And I know one of the people who works at Garden State, because I've had films there in the past, and she said to me, would you mind if we see it? And I'm like, well, I hadn't thought about a premiere, but if, you know, let me know what you think. And if you think that is something, you know, they would consider, then we would do it. I love Asbury, where they have it. It's just such a beautiful little village. I love the pictures. We love the people. So it was just, you know, because they reached out, it was like, yeah, we like the Garden State Film Festival. We've, I don't know, had 5 or 6 films there. I think one year we had like 6 films there. I don't
wow.
remember. I remember, but that was several years ago, and then, you know, a few films over the years. So it kind of said this would be like the perfect festival to do it at. So it may be the only screening too, because I don't know that I want to approach anywhere else, you know. So yeah, so we love Garden State, and we're excited to have a premiere. We have people coming in from New York and New Jersey, and
oh yay!
Excited about that.
We're excited to have you guys. And for those of you that are watching and are wondering, well, when actually can I see this film? You can watch The Only Woman in the World at the Berkeley Hotel on Sunday, March 27th, and it'll be from the 11:40 a.m. to 2 p.m. block. I'm excited. I'll be there. I'll be running around doing the social media. I'll try to snag you guys for an interview and maybe some of the amazing people you'll be bringing. So thank you so much for being with us today and talking to me. I had such a great time with you guys.
I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you.